Hello YouTube, welcome back to City Skylines 2. We are continuing where we left off with our realistic North American city on the River Delta map, and in this episode we'll finish off our Glass Harbor district and do a little bit of work on the waterfront. Let's get started. So we covered a lot of ground in the last episode. We're going to be slowing down a bit in this episode and become a bit more methodical, which is par for the course for my city builds. I usually start off really fast, rapidly expanding in a whole bunch of areas at once. I've got all these ideas and all this groundwork I want to get laid down while I'm feeling inspired and have this kind of like rough idea of how I want the layout to be. And then I end up kind of overwhelmed with how many unfinished spaces I'll have, and I kind of like burn out and lose creative energy when trying to fill in all these gaps. So I'm going to use this series as sort of a way to regulate my building patterns and force me to finish a particular neighborhood or project in each episode, which I think is not only going to be good for the structure of the series, but I mean, it's going to help me develop my ability to like build complete neighborhoods better. So by the end of this episode, we'll have a complete skyline for the Glass Harbor district and make sure every single block within it is filled, whether that's zone, buildings, parks, services, or light detailing. And we may revisit later to do some detailing, especially if we get props and the like added to the game, reasonably soon. But the neighborhood will be otherwise complete. That said, I probably will still bounce around a bit between different areas, and by no means is the episode going to be exclusively zoning in the Glass Harbor district. In this episode, I'll also do some rudimentary detailing of the waterfront with an actual key. We'll lightly decorate the park. Won't put too much into it yet since custom parks are not functional. We will improve our public transportation, do some work on one of our main highway interchanges, and expand our industry a little bit. But let's start with the waterfront. So for the waterfront, I've decided to place this water park tourist attraction here, which is sort of going to signal the end of the developed waterfront. And then to the right of this area, which is, I guess, south in the city, is going to be sort of more the undeveloped park, the more natural shoreline. So I'm going to build a couple blocks here and then build out a road in behind that medical research center. So my idea for this road behind the medical center is actually just because I don't like the look of having this like one block just kind of sticking out, just jutting out into this prime waterfront real estate. So I thought it looked better if this road was kind of connected up, and then this kind of serves as like just another way to access the medical research building from the other side. And then later on, we'll go in and we'll build the pedestrian paths that will be the actual keys just a little ways down and have a nice sloped lawn with lots of big trees in between them. Next up, just for this waterfront district, just for the park space along the ocean, I'm just putting some pathways through Yelnats Park here. It's not going to be a functional park at this point since the Sims don't have any inclination to get out into nature and just walk around, and there's nothing we can plop onto a pedestrian path at this point in time. So right now it's just some very light detailing, some light decorations to make it look like it is a nature park that could get used. The one functional asset I'm adding to this is I'm just adding this soccer field right at the entrance to Yelnats Park on the edge of that Glass Harbor district, just to sort of create some entertainment, some leisure time, something to do here in the district, and I think it fits nicely with the theme of the park. Alright, so it didn't take me too long to get distracted from the Glass Harbor district and just start zoning random stuff in this sort of middle density area east of Glass Harbor. Made a little inner city park here that's just sort of the barrier between this kind of business district and Glass Harbor area across that main boulevard. And this just sort of bridges the gap between that super high density area and this medium density area just across the boulevard. Decided to fill in some space around the high school here, added a back alley with a pretty significant amount of parking for it. This high school is nestled between two pretty major roads here, so I felt like it made sense to have pretty substantial parking, especially next to that big sports field there that, might have weekly football games or whatever. Then getting back on track in the Glass Harbor district here, just adding some service buildings to improve the coverage. So I do end up adding this elementary school right on the edge of Yelnats Park, which is really not an ideal place for the elementary school in this context. Sort of the central of like a very busy commercial and touristy area. It's right on a big, busy boulevard. You really couldn't pick many worse places for an elementary school, except maybe in the middle of a clover leaf. Yeah, I don't know. Pretty bad urban planning. Maybe we'll just pretend it's not an elementary school and just sort of like a garden conservatory type of deal or something, right? Like architecturally, the building looks fine there. It looks pretty good. So I don't know. It is what it is. So I noticed that this single point interchange, which is one of the main entrances from the highway network into the city, was just getting super backed up. So I had to take a look at this and get this under control. And there are a few issues with it. There are 2 left turn lanes in the off ramps, but traffic was only using one of the turn lanes. And then traffic was also getting backed up because Sims were taking the right off ramp and then trying to do a U-turn back onto the other side. So the first step, easy enough, just adding some dividers to the roads to get rid of the U-turns. But then yeah, if we zoom in on the actual intersection here, you can see cars are only using one of these turn lanes to enter the city, which doesn't really make sense. So it turns out this was happening just because of kind of bad lane mathematics. So when they put this interchange in the game, I think they could have taken a closer look at it. So this was actually caused by the fact that the on-ramps here that you can turn onto to get onto the highway are 2 lanes instead of 1 lane, which doesn't really make sense because you would only really want 1 turning lane here anyways off the street most likely. So basically what it meant is this leftmost off-ramp was basically just serving as a U-turn only because it would only turn left back onto the on-ramp, whereas the rightmost lane leads into the city. So again, turns out it's a simple fix. Just switch those on-ramps into 1 lane and then traffic is flowing smoothly, and both of those off-ramp lanes are now being used to turn into the city. So if you're having issues with the single point urban interchange that comes built into the game, this is how you fix it. So it's still producing a ton of traffic just because it's a high volume interchange, but it's at least flowing pretty smoothly through there now. So I think this interchange is going to do the trick for quite some time to come. So I'm creating some bus lines now just to sort of link up Glass Harbor and some of these other areas, the East End, West End, the River District, just sort of link those all up a bit, provide some public transit along these busy commercial streets. And the goal here, I don't want the bus line to compete too much with the subway line, so I'm trying not to mirror the routes too much, although there is a little bit of overlap, and of course the train station in East End and the Glass Harbor bus loop are both part of the subway line. So if it's anything like CS1, the bus lines probably are going to steal away some of that subway ridership, even though, you know, in real life 99% of people would rather take the subway if it gets them to the same place, but we'll have to see how that goes. So I'm trying to do these sort of crosstown routes and connect the East End industrial job areas and the high school up with some of the subway lines and the Glass Harbor residential district. And something I noticed that's pretty interesting, I think, is when you're building out the bus routes like this, it kind of helps put into perspective how kind of small the game is compared to real life cities. And that's not a jab at the game. That's just, I think people can just struggle to put into perspective just kind of, and at least myself sometimes, like just how huge cities are in real life, especially North American ones. So like this peninsula I built out here in on River Delta, like this feels like a huge grid, like a pretty complete city, especially compared to a lot of the builds I was doing in City Skylines 1. But when you really look at it, this peninsula is only like 5 kilometers by 3 kilometers or something like that. Like that's really not that big. That's basically the size of like just the downtown core of the city I live in. And like the city as a whole is like 20 kilometers by 20 kilometers, you know? Like the urban area is like 50 kilometers by 50 kilometers. Like it's kind of insane. And once you start plugging out, you know, when you zoom out and just look at your city grid, you'd be like, oh yeah, that looks like the scale on that looks huge. But then once you start plotting out these bus lines and you're thinking about the sort of key destinations and key corridors that you're trying to move people through, and you're trying to get sort of a good balance of coverage while also not having redundancy by having lines too close together. And you really start to notice like, well yeah, I don't need to put, you know, a bus line 2 blocks away from another bus line. I don't know if that's just me, that's just something I noticed. Like, I'll be looking at my city zoomed out and it's like, man, this city is huge. And then as soon as I start to plot out my public transit lines and try to like space them realistically, I'm like, oh man, my city is tiny. So I ended up making a pretty big change to the skyline here. I ended up deciding that I wanted that, you know, 432 Park Avenue building, whatever it's called in City Skylines II. I decided to move it into Glass Harbor with the other residential buildings. I just wanted something a little bit more distinctive and defining in that Glass Harbor skyline. So we're gonna speed build through some zoning and back alley detailing here. Some of these blocks in this Glass Harbor area aren't really perfect squares, which is great, looks great, but also makes them really hard to zone in, especially when we don't have ploppables or really good detailing tools, but I did my best.
You didn't ask too much of me, said take a little time, realize the time I take for you, I take for you. I know it isn't much for pain relief, but put a little faith in the make believe I make for you, I make for you. And words melt like chocolate in my head for you. And you should know by now that I don't do this often, but I know that I care for you. And I get the feeling that you know me better than I know myself. I never wanted you to be with someone else. A kind of passion, you want a kind of passion, and that's what you get. You know me better than I know myself. I never wanted you to be with someone else. A kind of passion, you want a kind of passion, and that's what you get. Don't really seem to interweave my insanity with the gravity. I say for you, I say for you. I left another job in my back pocket, but I chose to throw it out in the opposite route. I planned for you, and I hope you know by now that you know me better than I know myself. I never wanted you to be with someone else. A kind of passion, you want a kind of passion, and that's what you get. You know me better than I know myself. I never wanted you to be with someone else. A kind of passion, you want a kind of passion, and that's what you get. You know me better than I know myself. I never wanted you to be with someone else. A kind of passion, you want a kind of passion, and that's what you get. You know me better than I know myself. I never wanted you to be with someone else. A kind of passion, you want a kind of passion.
All right, so things are starting to shape up, but I've still got quite a lot of empty spaces to go, and I'm just going to be doing a lot of painting in the zones in the background, and I am being pretty picky with the zones. I'm being very particular with the depths I'm using for the zones. I'm not just using the bucket fill because as much as possible with the limited asset variety we have, I would like to get some variety in the types of buildings that are showing up, and I don't just want like a bunch of super tall copy paste skyscrapers right next to each other. You know, I want some variety, so I'm trying to really like kind of alternate. I'm trying to get these low-rise mixed-use buildings by only zoning like 2 tiles deep. I'm trying to use these mixed use and row homes as sort of the podium for the taller buildings. And you may have noticed I've been detailing sort of in the alleyways and in behind the buildings off of the main streets. I've been putting in these narrow alley roads and then sneaking in small parking lots behind the buildings or little parks here and there or pathways lined with trees, all that good stuff. Really trying to get some variety in the in the look, and I want each block to look a little bit different if possible. I don't just want to be staring down a dystopian urban hellscape. So we've got to bring the attention back to city services for a little bit. We've got a little bit of catch up to play in the elementary school department. So I'm sure you've all noticed this in your own game, but the elementary school demand is just crazy in this game. It's just bananas. I actually did some digging and kind of found out why that is, and some other people have dug into the code and stuff. But basically, the TLDR is that Sims will spend their entire childhood from their birth to when they turn into a teen, which takes about 15 in-game months. They'll spend that entire time in elementary school, but then once they become a teen, they can graduate high school in like 2 months, and they can graduate university and college in like a month. So basically, it just means that the Sims are spending a lot more time in elementary school than they are in other schools. And because families often move into the city already with children, you basically just end up with huge demand for elementary schools. And then it seems like nobody's going to like high school. And it's not actually that nobody's going to high school, it's just that they graduate high school so fast that you basically just never have more than a few hundred people in there at a given time. I did make a YouTube short on the topic, and you can find it pinned in the top comment if you're interested, but it's more or less the same information I just went over, just dressed up a little bit differently. Taking care of some of our industrial demand here, so I'm just filling in some, just zoning in some regular industry spaces here by the harbor. Then I'm also gonna add some commercial and office space as well, just to kind of serve as this West End area. So this is partly in response to demand and partly in response to how insanely overcrowded the bus routes I've made are. So I figured that these folks probably need a bit more local workplaces, so they're not all having to take the bus into the Glass Harbor and downtown. Brief overview shot here. Looks great, I think, so far. Really happy with the progress. This is just a little bit of random detailing by the rail yard and the medium density and low rent housing just north of it, near that tech university. I just wanted to add a little bit of separation, a little bit of landscaping. All right, and now we're extending our metro line. So I want to put one here on the same block as the high school, because I found out that most of my bus demand was people going to that high school actually from Glass Harbor. And then you're actually able, if you turn off snapping, you can put these metro lines on a 45-degree angle right into the corner, which is really nice because we don't have any angled stations, and I didn't want to have like full 90-degree turns. But yeah, you can just turn off snapping and put a metro on a 45-degree angle right in the corner, and it'll still have road access, no problem. So yeah, so you're able to get a nice realistic curve. So now this should hopefully reduce the overloading on the buses, and we've got a nice kind of hook shape for the metro line now. And I think the high school, it doesn't seem like a natural place for a terminus station, but extending the line in that same direction past the high school would also just sort of be redundant and just kind of mirroring the other side of the line. So I'm not totally sure where we'll go from there. You know, it might just say, hey, it terminates at the high school. It is what it is. Looks like people are using it. People are heading down there. That's a good sign. It looks like even some of those people are like walking away from the bus stop they were waiting at to now take the subway instead. So hopefully that'll help some of our overcrowding issues, although there's still a lot of people lined up for that bus line 5.
Strolling the streets in this ghost of a town, and my future looking bleak, my head feels sound, yeah. As I lost signal on the train underground, and my thoughts came flooding in, I started to drown, yeah. You caught me by surprise, changed my destination. Oh yeah, kaleidoscopic eyes forming constellations. Yeah, I had no reason to breathe until you knocked the wind out of me. I had no light I could see until your radiance blinded me. I was spinning around and around in an ocean of grief. Your ladder came down to the sea.
we've just gotten a game update that has a few fixes in it. So we'll see if that adjusts. I've been having some garbage collection issues. I don't know if that's going to change at all. They've done some tweaks to garbage processing efficiency. It looks like they fixed some of the bugs with incinerators and things incorrectly generating garbage. This is a very busy interchange. I might make another ramp onto this road here. Don't know if I want to. I don't think I want to do that actually, because I feel like that would just basically take 90% of this traffic and put it on this road instead, which I don't think is any better. I like the idea of having another option for people to get into downtown. And I was also toying with the idea of building a bridge from the East Harbour over here, because this is a long way to go to get to a bridge over here, right? But then if I build a bridge here, all this highway traffic is just going to go straight into downtown, which I also don't really want. So I'm in a little bit of a pickle here, and I think I'll just not build the bridge. I think I'll just leave it, honestly. And like, yeah, it's a far way for the incinerator to get there, but that's not the end of the world. Realistically, if we look at this in like realistic terms, this is only actually like a 10-minute drive from here. You know what I mean? Like, that's not bad. Like, where I live in real life, our regional waste management facility is like, you know, it's like a 30-minute drive from like the major urban center. You know what I mean? So yeah, this is not a big deal, I don't think. So we've got our incinerator and dump here, which will hopefully work a bit better now with this new update. And let's take a look at the garbage overview. So we've got a lot of garbage trucks, and none of them are downtown. What's going on? Wait, I think these guys are coming. I'm watching this guy. Let's go. Okay, they're getting into this downtown. Let's see if they'll pick up the garbage at Glass Harbour. No! He skipped past it. All right, maybe this guy's going down here. Yes, this is what we want. Come on, straight through. No! Wait, yes? Turn right? No! Where is this dude going? Dude, I swear these garbage trucks literally go everywhere except the buildings that... Hey, you forgot one. Hey, buddy. Hey. The garbage truck just skipped all of the buildings that desperately needed the garbage pickup. What's going on? All right, let's see. Wait, we've got 3 garbage trucks in the area. Surely one of them hits this, right? Come on. Straight. Dude. It's cursed. All right, at least tell me you're gonna get this one, right? Oh my God, dude. What is going on? Are these just bugged buildings? I'm so confused. We'll see how that goes. We've got a lively waterfront now. We've got this little like back alley parking for this sort of mixed use and medium density waterfront, which I think looks really good as sort of the stage that Glass Harbour sits upon. I had to add a school here. I mean, we can pretend it's not a school. Like, realistically, you wouldn't put an elementary school right along, you know, the main boulevard that's going to be like a very high commercial area. There is a soccer field next to it. So maybe we could pretend this is like a community center, which would make some sense, right? So in my mind, this is a community center, not an elementary school. There we go. Boom. So Glass Harbour is looking good. We've fully filled it in. I think we've got a nice variety of heights, and it creates a pretty interesting skyline. As much as, you know, as interesting as it can be with the limited asset variety. So we're wrapping up for today, but I think we made good progress. Glass Harbour is fully zoned in. Every block is complete. We crossed 100,000 population. Huge milestone. So I think next episode is going to be a double hitter. So we simultaneously apparently have a housing shortage, but we also have we're getting a bit of unemployment. We're getting a job shortage. We'll finish off the business district, and then we'll also add some workplaces along our kind of major transit route. So in the business district, in Central near that subway station over here, and near the city hall, and then along our major bus routes, and especially where some of these bus routes intersect with one another, I think we'll add some more workplaces along those sort of major connections along there. So we'll finish off business district and then fulfill some of that city need for more workplaces. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. This is Mayor Hieb signing off. Have a good one.